I'm a lifelong Memphian, grew up in the Orange Mound community, one of the largest and oldest home-owning communities in the United States of America. Went to Melrose High School and thought baby of 6 in my family, and had a great experience at Melrose and Orange Mound, growing up in a segregated community and city. But as God would have it, everything worked out for me, and went on from there to work because my mom took care of everybody. My father died when I was 1 year old. Never got a chance to meet him, but we had significant others around, my older brothers, my older people in the community that gave us values, church, and all the things that gave us a strong background and taught us how to be men in our community in Orange Mound, a great community that stressed education. And I'll talk a little more about that. They stressed education. Our teachers at Melrose High School, I finished in 1956, and they pushed us really hard to be the best. No excuses.
I am from a large family in Wells, Mississippi. There were 9 + 1 = 10, and my mother had what I called an older set, a middle set, and a younger set, and I was down in the bottom of the set. So with that family of 9 and 10, there was not too much room for growth and not too much room for space. In Wells, Mississippi, there was not a high school, there was not a middle school, there was a church school. And the students and the young people there had to go to church/school, and that's how they started off down there. I was there a few years, and my sister lived in Memphis with an aunt, and she said, well, we're going to get you out of this situation, because I had an older sister and then I was a younger one, and they said, you're going to make a difference in the world, but you can't do it here. And at that time, 3rd or 4th grade, I didn't realize what they were talking about. I didn't want to leave home. And I left my big family to come to a small family in Memphis, Tennessee, an aunt and uncle in South Memphis in the Carver High School area.
I was in Orange Mound, and we were very poor. We didn't have any money, but we had all other things that taught us how to be men and all. And my mom was my inspiration. She worked very hard at State Normal School, that's now University of Memphis. And I worked at the University Club. In my senior year, I was a good athlete. I could play basketball, skate, swim. I was playing on campus at Melrose, and the coach asked me, would I play for the team during the championship? I said, no, coach, I can't play because I work in the evening, I have to play. He said, well, if you play for me, I'll get you a scholarship to college. Sure, coach, yeah, you sure. 3 or 4 games, yeah. So I played, and we came in second or something at Melrose. Coach was Frank Lewis, used to play with the whole Harlem Globetrotters and Tennessee State University. Anyway, I graduated, went home, never thinking I was going to ever go to college. We didn't have the money. And I went to the swimming pool in Orange Mound. We had a 10-foot swimming pool. And guess who the manager was? Frank Lewis, the coach. He said, David, where have you been? I've been looking for you. You have a scholarship at Lemoyne. I said, are you joking? He said, get on over there. So I went over to Lemoyne and enrolled in Lemoyne, and I met the best thing ever happened to me, my wife. I had an athletic scholarship, and she mentioned Mayor Marion Barry, the mayor for life of D.C. Dr. Harrington was there. I played basketball. I was on the swimming team, the track team, and there were so few male athletes there. When we used to go and compete against Tennessee State Fish, they smoked us, but it was good experience. So I couldn't keep up that athletic scholarship. I had some help with my wife, though. So
I wasn't your wife then.
No, that's right. Look, see, with Yvonne, I met her and started trying to date her, all that stuff. She helped me out. Anyway, I went to the United States Army, and I ended up a military policeman at Aberdeen Proving Grounds with a semi-secret clearance during the Vietnam era. And I served there for 2 years. I just missed the Vietnam War because I was too short to go. Then I came, I'd read the rules, but I had enough clearance to know that America was telling people that there wasn't no war in Vietnam. We were sending body bags over there. I was in the room with McNamara and others. I know what was going on, but I couldn't talk about it. The press would say they just advisors, and they wanted me to go over to Vietnam as an advisor to protect McNamara. So I read the rules. I said, I don't have but 5 months left. The rules say I'm not supposed to go. So long story short, I said, let me go back to college. So I enrolled in Memphis State University in 1965, totally segregated. I mean, about 150 black students out the whole university. No teachers, no basketball players, no nothing. Only black people on campus was the one picking up garbage and the trash and cutting the yard. So I had been in the movement with Marion Barry, unlike Yvonne. I was in the movement boycotting Goldsmith and schools and everything with Marion Barry, NACP, Maxine Smith, both of us. And I said, this is fundamentally wrong at the Memphis State. So I organized the first Black Student Association and began to protest the university to make us inclusive in the university. Plus they didn't want to do it. So I organized the Black Student Association, and the only way we could be chartered would have a faculty member to sign. We didn't have any African American or black faculty. One lady named Miss Boyd, I never will forget her, white lady in the English department. She said, I'll sign it. She signed it. We got chartered on the school. We began to protest and et cetera, organizing. So in 1968, they assassinated Dr. King. And I told the group, in 1969 of April, we're going to shut the university down. In 1969 of April, we shut the university down. 109 went to jail. And we totally integrated after that the whole university. And the way we got to do that, I had read Malcolm X, I had been involved with the Black Panther Party, I had experience with Ben Hooks and the NACP, I had my afro and my 2 dashikis, that's all I had, and I challenged the whole university, plus the other students. So anyway, I told 5 students, I said, look, I need 5 to have my back. I said, now, let me explain to you. When we get ready to shut the university down, I want you to know that when we head down this slippery slope, there's no turning back. We're never going to graduate. We're never going to get a job in Memphis. We damn sure going to jail, and we might get shot. I said, you in this? I said, I'm in. I asked him, no, man, Mama said, that's all right, just stay away. I didn't need but 5. I read Patrick Henry, Liberty or Death. So anyway, 109 was arrested, and I went to the NACP, got Ben Hooks and all the lawyers, Maxine Smith, to get everybody out. Anyway, so fast forward, I graduated. I spoke to the whole university my senior year, and the people in the speech department asked me would I come to the master's program. So I went to the master's program, and when I went over there as a graduate assistant, I told my chair, what do you want me to teach? He said, basic public speaking. I said, I don't want to teach none of that white mess. I want to teach something black. He said, we don't have courses. I said, I'll write them. He said, you'll do what? I said, I'll write them. I had a good background from Maxine Smith, Dr. Brewster, and Nat D. Williams. I went to Nat D. and said, help me put this together, the historic in Booker T. Washington High School. So from that, I went on, got a master's, and got hired as a faculty member and taught there for 42 years in African Studies, started the Black Studies program, and thought they was going to shoot me, but they gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award after that. So that's how I met my wife, the best thing that ever happened to me. She's the wind beneath my sail. But here's the thing about King. I was a scholar on King and rhetoric. Man, King had us down there talking. I had the big afro, the iron pick. And King asked us, anybody have any weapons? And I said, yeah. I said, I got a knife. He said, what? My theory was, if the Klan jump on me, I'm going to cut one of them. I'm going to run, but I'm going to cut. I'm not going peaceful. So King saw that big iron pick. He said, take that out your hair. He said, what? He said, you believe the Klan are sick people? He said, yeah, they're definitely sick. He said, well, if they're sick and you're the doctor don't jump in the bed with the patient. Okay, all right. Then we said, well, what if it slap you on the cheek? He said, turn the other cheek. And so you end up with 2 sore cheeks. You know what King said? Better to enter heaven with a scarred up body than a scarred up soul. Ooh, he was seeing way over there. We were seeing right here. That's the kind of man King was, and that's where I drew my inspiration from. We were students with the NACP, and we had been involved in the sit-ins and etc. So we've been very Afrocentric, and I studied Egypt, Africa, and looked at culture. And culture to a people is what water is to a fish. If you take a fish out of water, the fish will die. If you take a people out their culture, the people will die. So slavery cut us off from our culture. Came to Africa, got us. They didn't come get a slave, they got a human being. They made us into a slave. So they took us out of our culture. Then through 310 years of brainwashing, telling people, African Americans and black people, that you never did anything, that everything you have to learn is all about white people. Went to high school, you had English, all of that stuff. You taught everything about white and nothing about African Americans. So we looked around, my wife and I, and we said, well, how can we get our black people into learning about their culture? So we looked at the Jewish culture, they celebrate every year, the Italians, the Greeks, everybody celebrate their culture. And why? Because culture is what I mentioned, the freshwater fish. I mentioned that how important it is to a people. So we said, well, how are we going to do it? My wife and I sit down. She said, let's start a festival. Let's start a festival because Africa started music, dance, culture, and everything. So I said, what are we going to call it? She's a linguist in African studies. She said, well, there's a Memphis in May, so let's have a festival in April. We're going to trick these people into getting into the culture. So I said, well, what are we going to call it? And Yvonne said, Africa in April. Wow. And I said, what else? Cultural Awareness Festival. So we started with nothing, the idea. And Yvonne can pick it up, but we went down on Main Street in April, 5 of us with African clothes on, beating drums, and said, this is the festival, 1986. And from that day forward, never failed to make, we'll be celebrating 34 years of success for African April.
An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped. It can be interrupted. And we certainly think that the African-American history, the African-American experience through African April is constantly growing. And we started, as David said, with a small number, less than 12, the number that Jesus had. But it was at the beginning because we realized once an idea has come and it's into fruition, you can keep going like a train on the track. It won't stop, you'll run over. So we feel like the culture, education, history, Afrocentricity and tourism, economic development, and diversity will continue. And the theme that we have focusing on our African American culture and all of the arts, through the windows of the arts, will always be relevant because we realize that we are the most artistic and creative people in the world. Everything that started began with us.
David L. Acey, Sr., Executive Director of the African April Cultural Awareness Festival, Incorporated.
Yvonne B. Acey, Associate Director of African April Cultural Awareness Festival, Incorporated. And this is our story.